Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you my end of the month reflections for the month of November 2022. So this is just like a summarized version of my reading over the last month. It'll include some soft stats, and then I will do a review of my highest and lowest rated books of the month. Usually this month it's going to be a little bit different because I did do a personal challenge, which was Light Novel November, and so I will be talking about the light novels in this video instead of my highest and lowest rated books of the month. I will let you know what those are though. But yeah, November was a slower reading month for me. I was a little bit shocked when I looked back at how my reading went because there was a period of time where I didn't log anything read for 2 weeks. I had to actually confer with my daughter because I was like, I didn't read anything for 2 weeks. I didn't finish anything. And I don't feel like a lot of the stuff that I had read was really like thick, but yeah. I think we can safely say though that on months where I have vacation, I tend not to read as much, and that's definitely the case here at the end of November. In fact, currently I'm still on vacation. I'm finishing up my 2-week vacation, and so I do go back to work on Monday. As of the day that you're seeing this though, I've already been back to work for a week. So I am filming this on December 3rd. So yeah, not as many things read for sure, but it was definitely a good month to do a challenge. It's just I think I picked the wrong books. Or at least the wrong book to start me off. And that's where it got held up because I took a really long time reading that one book. And so, yeah, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So like I said, I will include some soft stats, but let me show you what I read throughout the month in case you're interested in knowing. So I read, in no particular order, In a Dark, Dark Room and Other Scary Stories, retold by Alvin Schwartz, pictures by Dirk Zemmer. I read Bungo Stray Dogs, Volume 1, Osamu Dazai's Entrance Exam. This is a light novel. This is by Kafka Asagiri. Illustrations by Sango Harukawa. This one is published by Yen On, rated ages 13 and up, which is teen. I read volumes 2 and 3 of Solo Leveling by Chugong. I listened to this on audiobook narrated by Ki-Hong Lee. This one is published by Yen On, rated ages 16 and up, which is older teen. I finished The Son of Neptune, which is by Rick Riordan. This is the second book in the Heroes of Olympus series. And then I read the Monochrome Manga Club selections, which included Mission Yozakura Family. This is story and art by Hitsuji Gondaira, published by Viz, rated teen. I read volume 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen by Gege Akutami. That's also published by Viz, rated older teen, I believe. I read volumes 9 and 10 of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. This one is by Koyoharu Gotoge, published by Viz, rated teen. And then I read volume 8 of Sailor Moon in the Eternal Edition. This is by Naoko Takeuchi, published by Kodansha, rated teen. And I read volume 4 of Real Account. This one I believe is by Okusho, published by Kodansha. I would say it's probably rated older teen, but I'm not sure. I read that one digitally from Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, that is everything I read. If you'd like to hear more like detailed thoughts, longer, more in-depth thoughts on what I thought about all of these, I have linked all of my wrap-up videos down in the description box below. I typically wrap up everything I read in the week in my Desis 19 diaries. And within those diary entries, if you pull down the description box, you can see what I am talking about in those videos. So if you're only interested in a particular title, that would be the way to find it. But the Monochrome Manga Club selections, so Yozakura, Mission Yozakura Family, and Jujutsu Kaisen, have their own dedicated video every month. I have a Monochrome Manga Club series first impressions video that goes up that tells you my thoughts on both of the first in the series volumes. The series reads, though, Demon Slayer and Sailor Moon, can be found within my Desus 19 diaries, and it's usually the one that occurs after our meeting, so it's usually like the third one, I would say. The later ones in the month, definitely. Because I don't wrap those up until after our meeting, but yeah. So, as far as stats go, and like I said, these are really, really soft stats. I read 11 total things in the month of November. That is down from 26 things in the month of October. October was just a stellar reading month for me. It was probably my best reading month of the year, I would say. And so, yeah. So there's definitely been a decrease this month. I read 2,788 pages, down from 6,559. I read 6 volumes of manga, which is down from 21 volumes. And I read 5 novels, and that has remained the same. I typically have read 5 novels in the month, every month, over the last few months. So that's a good number for me, I think. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. One of the things I read was from Kindle Unlimited. One of the things I read was from the Shonen Jump app. And then 9 of the things I read, I owned. So that's awesome as well. This brings me up to 165 things read in 2022. So I think I'm doing pretty well. My goal was 100 things read. That includes manga and novels. I do strive to read 52 novels in the year. I have not done any calculations though over the last 3 months or so as far as that number goes. So I really need to pick that back up and make sure that I can do my 52 books this year. I think I'm close, if not already there, I would think. But yeah, I need to figure all of that out very soon. Vacation has just been very relaxing for me. So I haven't done any of the things as far as paperwork or calculations or anything like that. I'm just taking care of myself. So yeah, I would say it's been a pretty good reading month. As far as ratings go, I had 3 5-star reads, I had 3 4-star reads, I had 4 3.5-star reads, and I had 1 3-star read. And I think by now you already know what my lowest rated read of the month is, but if you haven't watched any of these videos of mine before, my lowest rated read of the month was Sailor Moon, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon in the Eternal Edition, Volume 8 by Naoko Takeuchi. This has been my lowest read of the month the entire time we've been reading this series. Yeah. If you want to hear what I thought about this one, you can check out the wrap-up video down in the description box below. And as far as highest rated reads of the month, I had 3. So, the 2 volumes of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, and In a Dark, Dark Room. So, since I've talked to you about Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba before in one of these videos, I'm going to talk about this one. Because I don't hear a lot of people talk about this one. I do talk about it every year, though, I think. But it does get, buried in all of these end of month type videos. So, I thought I'd spotlight this one again. This is one of my most favorite children's books from when I was growing up. I think I was introduced to it when I was in the 3rd grade, which is a bit late for me considering this is a level 2 reader. So it's grades 1 through 3. I had found it in our school library when we had gone as a class to the library to borrow books and fell in love. I read this one several times while I had it out from the library, and my mom ended up buying me a copy. I ended up actually losing that copy when we had moved, one of the times we had moved, and so when I had my daughter, I bought another copy, and I've tried to read this at least once a year. Not always successful doing that, but I always enjoy coming back to this one. Now, this particular edition is illustrated by Dirk Zimmer. I had found recently on Hoopla that this is available to read and borrow, but it's illustrated by somebody else. And this is so nostalgic to me. Like I can't even bring myself to borrow the other one because the pictures are going to be different, right? Different illustrator, the pictures are going to be different, the interpretation is going to be different. This is the one I grew up with. This is the one I love. And so, yeah, but these are just a bunch of short stories. They are, 7 or so? Here. The illustrations are just so nostalgic to me. There are 7 short stories in this one. My favorite was always the one called The Green Ribbon. So in case you do decide to check this one out, The Green Ribbon was the one that has stuck with me all this time. I pretty much know the gist of that story by heart. But there are other ones in here, like The Teeth, the Ghost of John song, that just like are ones that have stuck with me over the years. The Night It Rained. And yeah, just very nostalgic to me. It's a nice fast read. And it just, I don't know, there's something about the illustrations that made this so memorable for me while I was growing up and just have stuck with me this entire time. So I definitely recommend that you check it out, even if you check out the one that's illustrated by the other person. The stories are just, I don't know, there's just something about it. And they may hit you differently if you're reading it as an adult, but if you have kids, definitely check this one out. I think they'd be enjoyable for your kids. Or, if you're an adult that enjoys children's stories, I definitely recommend this one as well. So this will forever be a 5-star read for me. Not only the nostalgia, but yeah, it's just a really, really enjoyable read. And it's a fast one. So enough gushing about In a Dark, Dark Room. I'm actually going to put in 2 other summarized thoughts in this one because I did Light Novel November. In November, I wanted to read as many light novels as I could. And so I did finish 3 light novels in the month, which I think is good. It's a lot more than I have read probably this entire year. But let me start off talking about Bungo Stray Dogs, Volume 1, Osamu Dazai's Entrance Exam. Now, I go through my thoughts on this a lot heavier in my wrap-up. So, like I said, you can check out the wrap-ups down in the description box below. But basically, this is the light novel prequel of what happens before the Bungo Stray Dogs manga. So, in this volume, we are meeting Dazai as he joins the armed detective agency. He's paired up with Kunikita, who's this guy. So this guy's Dazai. Kunikita's this guy. Kunikita's already part of the armed detective agency, so it's his job to figure out whether Dazai is a fit for the armed detective agency. And in this world, the armed detectives have abilities. So Kunikita has an ability. Dazai also has an ability. And so, yeah, they end up getting this case and working it together. And Kunikita decides whether or not Dazai is a fit for the armed detective agency. This should not have taken me as long as it did. This is only like 182 pages. That's with the afterwards, so it's 180 pages. It took me like 3 weeks to read this. And it's mostly because I'm not a fan of Kunikita. I would have much preferred this book if it was from Dazai's point of view, because as a character, I enjoy Dazai a lot more. Kunikita is very awkward in social situations, and he's very sarcastic. He always has rude things to say about Dazai, and it's a lot of inner monologue, and I just did not enjoy his voice. And because this story is from Kunikita's perspective for the most part, that is what made this book drag for me. If this book had been from Dazai's point of view, I think I would have flown through it a lot faster. But yeah, the beginning part of this book is a lot of him getting to know Dazai before they get into the case. Once they get the case and start investigating, that picked up a bit for me. But still, Kunikita and his little side comments and things like that was not enjoyable for me. So yes, this took me a lot longer than it should have. We should be rolling now, though, because this book actually, at the ending part, takes you to right before the Bungo Stray Dogs manga and anime starts. So I think from here on out, the novels should move forward a lot faster. Hopefully they're from other characters' perspectives or an omniscient perspective, because this one definitely dragged for me because it was from Kunikita's perspective. But I still enjoyed it. I gave this one 3.5 stars. And I definitely recommend the Bungo Stray Dogs series as a whole, whether it be you watch the anime, you read the manga, you try these light novels. This light novel was actually written in a way so you don't have to know anything about the Bungo Stray Dogs series before reading this, and the mangaka actually mentions that in the back, that it was written in that way. So, yeah, check out this series, especially if you're like a mystery lover, you like to read mystery novels. Later in this series, you'll see characters that are like based on other European authors, Canadian authors. All of the armed detectives, I believe, are Japanese authors, and I believe the Port Mafia, some of them, if not all, are also Japanese authors. So yes, there's a literary connection to the characters from this world, and little quirks and things that these characters have are based on the actual real life people. So yes, definitely recommend this series. I do have to say though, going into this, there's probably should be a trigger warning for suicidal thoughts and actions, because Dazai as a character is what is referenced to in this book as a suicide enthusiast. He likes to research ways and try ways to kill himself. And it's done in kind of a comical tone within the series. So just know that going into it. I know that that's not something that a lot of people can read. And it's not in graphic detail, but there is mention of things that he has researched or tried or found. So know that going in. I will say Osamu Dazai, the real life person, did commit suicide. So that is part of that person that the mangaka has taken to make part of this character's personality. So yeah, that might not be something for you, but I just wanted to point that out going in. So I do enjoy this series. I enjoy the mystery aspect. I enjoy seeing all of the literary characters and what the mangaka decides to do with them and how he brings their characters in his world alive. But yeah, I'll definitely be continuing with the light novels. I have already watched 2 seasons, I think, or 1 and a sum of the anime, and I've read about 7 volumes of the manga. It is one that we really enjoy, and so I definitely recommend it. And the other 2 light novels that I finished in the month of November were Solo Leveling Volumes 2 and 3. Again, like I said, this is light novel. I have read Volume 1 of the manhwa, because it is a Korean comic, and enjoyed that as well, but I much preferred the light novel, so that's what I've stuck with. This is by Chugong. This story is about a monster hunter named Jinwoo Sung, and he's like level E, which is like the lowest level monster hunter. So when he comes on to a job, a lot of the other monster hunters that are on the job think, okay, you know, this job's going to be easy. They can take a deep breath and, you know, relax a little bit. So he shows up on a job. It's supposed to be a super easy dungeon. And basically in this world, these dungeons have popped up and they have inside like monsters. And these dungeons have to be cleared out because if they don't, then the monsters, after a certain amount of time, will come out into society and wreak havoc. So they have these teams of monster hunters. They're all ranked based on their ability and like level. And it's not just like physical ability. They have like some kind of like power within them. So they like have what's called an awakening, and then you can measure like the amount of power they have, and that's how they get leveled. So Jinwoo Sung like has next to nothing. He's like the lowest of the low. So he's at this job. It's supposed to be a really easy job. They go in, they clear out the dungeon. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to them, it is a rare double dungeon. So inside the easy dungeon, there is a second, much harder dungeon. And the team that's there is not equipped to take care of that dungeon, but they have no choice. They have left this particular dungeon alone so long that if they don't go in and try to clear out the second dungeon, those monsters will come out and wreak havoc onto society. So the team goes in to try to clear out that second dungeon, and it's like a super high rated dungeon. Almost everybody gets annihilated. And right before the killing blow comes down on Jinwoo Sung, a message pops up in front of him, and it says, "Would you like to become a player?" And with nothing to lose, Jinwoo Sung agrees. And so the series kind of follows him playing this kind of video game in his head. Like, he sees it in front of his face, but no one else can see what he sees. And it's basically like a battle style type game where you as a character are the character in the game, leveling up, trading in your like monies and items and things that you find on these quests to make yourself better, using your experience points and things like that. And he's basically just doing this on his own. And so as he goes through all of these things, doing the daily missions and things, he is starting to level up. So in real life, his power as a monster hunter is increasing. So we're kind of following his journey throughout this series. And it's really, really interesting. I really enjoyed Volume 1. And I definitely recommend the audiobooks. The audiobooks are done by Ki Hong Lee, who is Minho in the Maze Runner movies, if you've seen those. And he kind of narrates all of the little like battle noises and things. So like when there are little sounds and things, he kind of says them. It's not like a sound effect, but he kind of vocalizes the things that are written in the novel. And so I really recommend the audiobooks as well. I wish more of these light novels had audiobooks because there are not very many of these. I think only Yan On does them, and they only have a handful of titles. But anyway, back to Solo Leveling. So I continued with Volume 2. I again listened to it on audio. This particular volume was not as interesting to me as the first one. It did suffer second book syndrome. In this volume, there is a lot of Jinwoo Sung leveling up and not much else. So while it was entertaining for me to see him going in and, you know, completing all of these things to level himself up, there wasn't enough other to keep my interest. Like, I still stuck with it through the whole thing, but it was just a lot of him leveling up, like a lot. And so by the end of this one, some things came up where I was like, okay, let's see where that goes. And so I jumped right into the third one, and this third one was so much better. Now he's done all of his leveling up in like Volume 2. that in volume 3 he's now having to deal with the fact that he's leveled himself up so much he can't keep it a secret, and other people are starting to notice. And so it's going through the things that have happened now that other people are noticing that his abilities have increased so much, and the things that he is able to accomplish now, being a higher, more powerful kind of monster hunter, even though officially he is still a level E, lowest rated monster hunter. And so he's very kind of sneakily trying to figure out certain things behind the scenes without other people noticing. But other people do notice. And then there is also the addition of this kind of virus that has come about because these dungeons have started popping up into the world. That was mentioned at the very end of this installment, and I thought that was really interesting as well. I'm super looking forward to the 4th installment, but I think there are only 5 installments out right now, and the 6th one doesn't come out until the springtime. So I want to savor these, and so I did not read another one. I really want to get back into this world, though. So, yes, really, really enjoyed this one. I definitely recommend it, especially if you've played any kind of video games where you do, like, monster hunting or battle type, maybe Genshin Impact, stuff like that. You will probably enjoy these books, and I definitely recommend them. If light novels are not your thing, this does have a manhwa, and so those are full color. The art style is gorgeous. Like, it's so awesome. I just prefer the amount of detail that is told in the story in the light novel that you don't get in the manhwa because there's not enough space. You get the art without as much detail. I prefer more detail, but I do recommend both. So, yes, I've gushed enough about the things that I've read this month. I hope that you have enjoyed hearing me talk about these and that you decide to check out these novels that I have talked to you about today, because I do think a lot more people need to check them out. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about the light novels as much. I definitely see a lot more manga coming out into the booktube community in general. But yeah, there are definitely light novels. I don't think a lot of people know about them, and so I enjoy them. And if you're a novel person and you really want to get into like manga, start with a light novel. I think that might be a good entryway for you. Find a series that you enjoy and then try to check out the manga. I think that's a good way to try to dip your toe into the manga-verse. And so, yeah, that will do it for me today. I think I've gushed on enough about the things that I read in the month of November. Let me know down in the comments below if you participated in Light Novel November, what you read in November, if you found a favorite or a fail, your favorite book of the month or your least favorite book of the month, and you'd like to share those with me down in the comments below. That would be greatly appreciated. If nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me some kind of fantasy type emoji or like a sword, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smiley always. Bye.